Imagine this. You've just moved into a sleek, modern house nestled on the quiet edge of a bustling city. The air smells faintly of fresh paint and cedarwood. Polished oak floors stretch across the open space. A glossy grand piano sits gracefully in the corner, untouched, like a promise waiting to be fulfilled. Through the floor-to-ceiling windows, the city lights blink in the distance. Like stars that got lost and decided to live on Earth instead. You drop your suitcase in the hallway. It's your first night. The silence is comforting until... click. The front door swings open. You freeze. There, in the doorway, illuminated by the hallway's soft glow, stands a man you've only ever seen on screens. Familiar, yet changed. The swoopy-haired teenage heartthrob of the internet's golden age. Now taller, broader, with eyes that have seen too much. His hoodie hangs loose, his tattoos peek from beneath the sleeves, and his sneakers leave faint prints on the wooden floor. Justin Bieber. The name echoes in your mind like a lyric you never forgot. He doesn't say much at first, just tilts his head slightly, with that same lopsided smirk that once launched 1,000 fan pages. Then, in a low voice, almost joking, almost not, he says, "You ready to see what life looks like up close for a global pop icon?" You manage a nod, unsure if you're dreaming or wide awake. And just like that, you've stepped into something far beyond ordinary. Not just a housemate, not just a neighbor, but a front-row witness to the private world of someone who once couldn't breathe without it making headlines. You're living with a man who was once the world's obsession, and now just wants to find himself again. You walk downstairs one morning, the faint smell of brewed coffee still lingering in the air. The sun filters through sheer curtains, casting golden lines across the kitchen tiles. But it's not the quiet elegance of the morning that catches your attention. It's him. Justin is seated at the kitchen island, hunched over his laptop, barefoot, hoodie half-zipped, a spoonful of cereal frozen midair as his eyes fixate on the screen. You peek over his shoulder. The dashboard shows a dizzying array of numbers, analytics from his YouTube channel. Over 73 million subscribers. More than 32 billion lifetime views. It looks less like a page from a website and more like a page from history. He chuckles without looking up. Wild, right? All that, from a grainy little video in Stratford. He's talking about that video. The one where a 12-year-old kid with a bowl cut, oversized striped shirt, and too much heart sang Chris Brown's With You in a tiny theater. The one his mom, Patty, uploaded to YouTube just so their family in another province could watch. "I didn't even know what viral meant," he says. "All I knew was, I felt alive when I sang." That video changed everything. Within weeks, talent manager Scooter Braun stumbled upon it by accident. Within months, Usher was flying him to Atlanta. Within a year, he wasn't just a boy with a dream. He was a signed artist, a global sensation. "You know what's funny?" he asks, finally meeting your gaze. That song I covered, it literally saved my life. No cap. Without it, none of this would exist. I don't even know where I'd be. He clicks another tab, this one filled with certificates. Guinness World Records. 20 of them are still active. 33 total. Most viewed music channel on YouTube. Youngest solo artist with 5 #1 albums in the US. Most followers on Twitter for a male musician. First artist to occupy the entire top 3 of the UK singles chart. He scrolls through the accolades like they're grocery items. You know what they don't tell you, though, he says. Numbers don't feel like anything when you're in it. You think they'll make you happy. But happiness? That's not in a stat. He closes the laptop softly, like sealing a chapter he knows he can't rewrite. At that moment, you don't just see an artist. You see a boy who once chased dreams with a camera and a guitar, and ended up rewriting the rulebook of global fame. That first night, as the city hums quietly beyond the glass, you wander through the house, still trying to believe this is real. In the corner of Justin's study, half hidden under a stack of lyric notebooks and tangled headphone cords, you find something curious, a folded tour itinerary. The paper is worn, creased at the edges, like it's been opened and refolded 100 times. At the top, bold letters read, Purpose World Tour. Underneath it, dates, countries, cities, and numbers. A total revenue of $257 million. Sold out arenas. Screaming fans. International headlines. You trace the cities with your finger, London, Sao Paulo, Tokyo, Johannesburg. The world was his stage, and he commanded it like a storm. But that was then. The next morning, as light breaks through the blinds, you make coffee and glance at the tablet left on the kitchen counter. An article is still open on screen. The headline stops your heart. Justin Bieber postpones tour due to Ramsay Hunt syndrome. You scroll. The images show him, his face partially paralyzed, his expression dazed, trying to explain to fans why he had to cancel. Another tab reveals a different side of the story. Rehab. Isolation. Mental breakdowns. The glossy superstar had disappeared from stages and reappeared in clinics. That evening, as the house settles into silence, you pass by the recording room. The door is cracked open. A voice, his voice, drifts out from a speaker. You stop. Listen. It's not a song. It's an audio journal. Raw. Unfiltered. Painfully human. I couldn't breathe sometimes, he says. You're up there, and all you hear is screaming, but inside your head, it's quiet, like you're floating, alone. A pause. Then, I used stuff to numb it. To survive the pressure. I hated myself for it. But I didn't know how else to feel normal. His voice cracks, not from performance, but from memory. You back away quietly, the words sitting heavy in your chest. And that's when it hits you. You're not just living in the house of a legend. You're sharing space with someone who's been through the fire, who has stood at the pinnacle of success, only to fall into the depths of personal collapse. The world saw a pop god with platinum records. But behind the fame, behind the lights, there's a man who barely held on. A man who almost disappeared under the very spotlight that made him. This isn't just Justin Bieber the celebrity. This is Justin Bieber, the survivor. One afternoon, the house is quiet, too quiet. You settle into the plush couch in the media room, scrolling idly through your phone. Justin's Instagram feed is open. A new post appears. A bathroom mirror selfie, his skin flushed, shirt soaked with sweat, muscles tense from a workout. The location tag, Mallorca, Spain. The caption, sprawled in chaotic letters, Detox 666. The comment section is a flood of emojis, fan devotion, and speculations. Right at the top, a comment from Haley. My forever and always red heart. To the outside world, there's still a modern fairy tale. The beautiful couple. The golden life. The illusion of perfect harmony. But living under the same roof, you begin to see the cracks. There are mornings when they pass each other in silence. Evenings where laughter turns into cold sighs. You overhear quiet arguments behind closed doors, nothing loud, nothing explosive, but filled with that specific kind of tension that only exists when two people are trying to hold on. It's not that they don't love each other. It's that love alone doesn't erase the weight of everything else. Then one night, you overhear a phone call. Justin's in the studio room, pacing, barefoot, voice low but strained. I just feel like I'm not in control anymore. Like there's this engine behind me, running at full speed. And I'm being dragged along, not driving it. You pause in the hallway, listening. I talk to Brittany, he continues. She gets it. The pressure. The image. The people around you treating your life like it's a business plan. I don't want a conservatorship. But some days I feel like I'm already in one. Invisible walls. Scripts. Schedules. Smiles I don't mean. There's a long silence. Then a muffled thanks before the call ends. He doesn't know you heard. But you carry that moment like a secret you weren't meant to keep. Later that week, you notice something new on the fridge. A handwritten list titled Things I Control. It reads, my morning routine, my body, my studio hours, my family, my voice. 5 lines, 5 anchors. A quiet rebellion against a system that once consumed him. Because beneath the fame, the curated Instagram, the lavish villas and glossy brand deals, there's a man battling to reclaim ownership over his own identity. To redefine success, not as domination, but as freedom. Not as perfection, but as peace. And in that fight, Justin is still very much in the middle of the storm. But at least now, he knows what he's fighting for. The living room is different from the rest of the house. While the rest of the space leans into sleek minimalism, glass, chrome, and clean white walls, the living room feels warm, lived in, human. Sunlight pours in through sliding doors that lead to the backyard, glinting off the rows of miniature toys neatly lined up on wooden shelves. But these aren't ordinary toys. Each one tells a story. A limited edition Drew House teddy bear, dressed in the same smiley face hoodie Justin wore on stage. A mini Vespa scooter, pastel-colored, branded with his initials. And sitting center stage, a quirky trio of donut-shaped figures, Tim Biebs, his wildly successful collaboration with Tim Hortons. At first glance, they look like decorations, clever marketing extensions of the Bieber brand. But then you notice something else. Some are worn, slightly chewed at the edges. Others have crayon marks or fingerprints. These aren't display pieces. They're touched, played with, loved. And right in the middle of the shelf, framed in soft cedar wood, is a photo. Justin, shirtless and sun-kissed, sitting at the edge of a pool. In his arms, Jack Blues, his baby boy, no older than 10 months. They're both laughing. It's not posed. Not a PR shot. Just joy, frozen in time. Later that evening, the two of you sit on the patio as Jack naps inside. Justin holds a bottle of water in one hand, a pacifier in the other, like it's the most natural thing in the world. This, he says, gesturing toward the house, the toys, the faint cooing of a baby monitor. This is it. This is my real job now. You glance at him, unsure if he's joking. But he continues, softer now. I spent over a decade trying to prove something. To be the biggest. The loudest. The most watched. And I got there, but I was empty, man. Now, when he wakes up and grabs my finger, when I see him smile just 'cause I walked in the room, that's real. That's the kind of fame I care about. Inside, Jack stirs. Justin rises immediately, instinctively. As he disappears into the nursery, you realize something profound. The same man who once ruled global charts is now ruled by something far simpler: love, responsibility, and the fragile awe of being someone's father. No crowd. No encore. No sold-out arena. Just a father. Learning how to be the safest place in the world for the smallest person he's ever loved. It's past midnight. The house is quiet, except for the faint hum of the fridge and the occasional creak of the wooden floor. You get up to grab water, but as you pass by the living room, you notice the soft flicker of a lamp. Justin's there. Cross-legged on the carpet, back against the couch, fully immersed in a Rubik's Cube. His fingers move fast, methodical yet relaxed. You watch in silence as the colors snap into place. 1 minute and 47 seconds. Done. He tosses it gently on the couch and grins without even looking at you. Used to do that backstage to calm my nerves, he says. Guess some habits stick. He's wearing a onesie, a soft, oversized, purple thing with cartoon lightning bolts printed across it. You can't help but laugh. You wear that often? Every chance I get, he says, stretching. It's cozy. And purple's my color. Always has been. You sit across from him and ask the kind of question most fans have only ever wondered from behind screens. What's your go-to cereal? Without missing a beat. Berry Captain Crunch. No debate. Makes me feel like a kid again. There's something about him at this hour, unguarded, unfiltered. No cameras. No stylists. No script. Just a man in a onesie, talking about breakfast and childhood like it's sacred. Later that week, you spend time going down the rabbit hole of his old live streams. You find one from years ago, black and white filter, acoustic guitar beside him, eyes closed. He's singing Freedom, a gospel anthem. But it's more than a performance. His voice cracks halfway through, and you watch tears slide down his cheek. He didn't stop the stream. Didn't wipe them away. He just kept singing. That song got me through the darkest stuff, he tells you the next day. Gospel, it reminds me that I'm not alone. That there's grace. Even for someone like me. In one of your deeper conversations, he opens up further. I'm claustrophobic, you know, he says. Can't do small spaces. Private jets stress me out more than they should. You raise an eyebrow. Seriously? Dead serious, he laughs. People assume I'm chill 'cause I've done so much. But, man, sometimes just being in a tight room with no windows makes my chest close up. Then, almost like a confession. If music hadn't happened, I think I would have been an architect. I love design. Lines. Shapes. How things fit together. Buildings don't scream at you. They don't chase you. They just are. You look at him differently after that. This is the same guy who once danced in stadiums with fire cannons behind him. Now talking about blueprints, quiet spaces, and cereal preferences. And somehow, that makes him more extraordinary. Because behind every arena roar and platinum plaque is a guy who still loves puzzles, cries to gospel, panics in elevators, and sometimes wishes he was building houses instead of breaking charts. A man who, when the noise dies down, finds comfort in the small, strange, quiet parts of himself. The parts the world never thought to ask about. The air is crisp on your last evening in the house. The sky above is unusually clear, littered with stars that don't often show themselves over the city. The quiet is thick, like even the world is holding its breath. You find Justin on the balcony, leaning against the railing, his face illuminated only by the soft amber glow of the overhead bulb. He's wearing a faded hoodie, hair tousled, barefoot. Without turning, he gestures beside him. Come here. You gotta see this. You step into the night air. The view is breathtaking. A vast black canvas speckled with stars, the distant hum of traffic like waves at the edge of the universe. He exhales slowly, then says, almost to himself, "Look at the sky. It's the only place that ever made me feel small, in a good way." You wait in silence, knowing this moment isn't about questions or fandom. It's something more sacred. "I used to be a prisoner," he finally says. "Not in a cell, but in cameras, contracts, applause. I thought being loved by the world would fill the void. But the truth? The more famous I got, the less I recognized myself." He turns to you, eyes clear but heavy with memory. "I've done things I'm proud of, and things I'm working to forgive. But lately, when Jack looks at me, when he really looks at me, I don't see Bieber. I see Dad. And I want to be worthy of that title." He walks back into the living room and returns holding a small leather-bound notebook, worn and soft at the edges. He places it in your hands without ceremony. "Open it." You do. The first page, a song lyric, handwritten in blue ink. It's raw, unfinished, vulnerable. A chorus about surrender, about not needing the stage to feel alive. The second page, a poem, dedicated to Jack Blues. Gentle stanzas about lullabies and long walks, about fear and faith and the ache of unconditional love. Tucked into the back cover, a tiny Guinness World Record medal, no bigger than a coin. He smiles when he sees your confused expression. "Not the biggest one I got, but it's the first I earned for doing exactly what I wanted. No label pushing. No radio pressure. Just me." You run your fingers over the inscription, "Most streamed track on Spotify in 24 hours." He closes the notebook in your hands and holds your gaze. "Keep this," he says softly. "Not as a souvenir, but as a reminder. Fame is spectacular, yeah. It can lift you to the clouds, but it can also drown you if you forget who you are. Integrity, that's the only thing you get to carry with you when the lights go off." The silence stretches, comfortable now. The city below continues to spin, but up here, everything stands still. And for the first time, you understand. Justin Bieber isn't just a voice you grew up with. He's a man who broke, healed, and chose to feel instead of perform. A father. A believer. A survivor. And as you leave the balcony, notebook in hand, you carry more than memories. You carry his trust, and a piece of the real story the world never got to hear. Thank you, Justin, for the melodies that wrapped around millions of hearts like a second skin. Songs that played in the background of first loves, late night tears, and long drives home. For the voice that grew up as we did. From innocent acoustic covers to stadium anthems that shook the world. Thank you for the brilliance. For redefining what a YouTube kid could become. For the records shattered, the barriers broken, the rules rewritten. You didn't just enter the music industry. You disrupted it, at an age when most kids were still figuring out who they were. But more than the hits and headlines, thank you for the humanity, for the parts you didn't have to show, but did. The anxiety behind the fame, the exhaustion behind the smile, the raw voice in the rehab recordings, the trembling hands trying to steady under pressure no teenager should have carried. Thank you for not hiding the dark chapters, for letting us see the boy who stumbled, the man who broke, and the father who rose from the ashes with gentleness in his arms and purpose in his chest. Thank you for sharing your faith, your fear, your growth, for reminding the world that healing isn't linear, and that wholeness doesn't come from perfection, but from honesty, for being a husband who keeps trying, a father who prioritizes presence over fame, a man who continues to wrestle with the world's idea of you, and keeps choosing your own. We saw the lights, we cheered the tours, but more importantly, we see you, the you behind the filters, behind the stage smoke, behind the headlines. We hear your story in every note, and in the quiet moments you let us witness. Solving Rubik's Cubes in onesies, praying alone, holding Jack by the pool. We find something far more powerful than fame. We find truth. So thank you, Justin Bieber. Not for being perfect, but for being real. Not for staying on top, but for staying grounded. Not just for growing up in front of us, but for letting us grow with you. We heard you. We see you. And we're still listening.